Welcome to part 2. Now, in a previous recording, I've talked about the dramatic unfolding events at the IEBC. Okay? And more importantly, I've linked them to the handshake. Okay? Apparently, in the Uhuru-Raila agenda, it's going to be moving very fast in the next few weeks. And obviously, they wanted an IEBC that's functional. We all know that the current IEBC, the way it stood, was not the kind of IEBC that would get any confidence, generate any confidence in a vast majority of Kenyans. So what we have had are some remote-controlled resignations, exactly 3, which in effect have disabled the IEBC because they're now impotent. They cannot conduct any business. They don't have the quorum legally to make any decision. Therefore, the IEBC is not functional at all. Even as the chairman, Bwana Chebukati, and the other 2 commissioners insist that they are not resigning. Then what has followed is that the security has been withdrawn. So it's very interesting what has happened here, because clearly the Uhuru-Raila team has really disorientated the Ruto camp. At first, of course, the Ruto camp was pretending that, we're on board, we know exactly what's happening, our man Ruto is close to Uhuru, he knows exactly the contents of the agreement, everything is cool. That was what they tried to pretend to us. However, now it has become abundantly clear that they have no clue. I mentioned this in an earlier recording, but what has followed is that even Ruto himself has made statements in public that show clearly is jittery. Clearly, the Ruto team is very, very afraid of that handshake. And whatever was behind the handshake, that should be crystal clear. But there's something else which has also happened. Have you heard of a man called Kalonzo Musyoka recently? Wow. Now, maybe I need to remind you, shortly after the first handshake, Bwana Kalonzo Musyoka came out and said even him, he wants to shake Uhuru's hand. Okay? Now, as he was in the middle of making those arrangements, there was another handshake. Raila and retired President Daniel Arap Moi. Now, what this has done, it has completely sent confusion in the camp of Kalonzo Musyoka. He has been forced to apply emergency brakes so as to stand and find out what's happening, because I think he realized that he's headed for head-on collision, with something which he doesn't know what it is, but there was something, I'm talking politically. Of course, he has greatly embarrassed himself already, but it was going to be worse, so he had to apply emergency brakes. So maybe the question we should ask Kalonzo Musyoka is, whose hand does he want to shake now? Something else has also happened. There's another guy called Moses Wetangula. Okay? Now, his threats against Raila Odinga that, you have lost the vote of Western, this, that, have now been overtaken by events. Or rather, it looks very, very obvious that they're going to be overtaken by events. What am I saying? All indications, from my inside information, is that we are headed for a referendum very soon. Okay? And the whole reason for this is that the handshake will involve a major change in the governing structure of the country called Kenya. There is a very high possibility that Kenyans will be asked to do away with the office of the presidency. Okay? And we end up with the prime minister instead. A prime minister with less powers, and stronger institutions. Now, in a minute, I'll tell you why that is headed towards somewhere called trouble. Okay, I'll explain in a minute. But for now, it seems that there's a very high possibility that Kenyans are going to go back to the polls very soon, and not to elect leaders or to elect a new government. They'll be going back to the polls to vote on some major changes to our constitution. Now, the magic about these referendum votes is that they they usually render tribal politics null and void and irrelevant. And from where I sit, it's going to be even more so in this coming referendum. Okay? Kenyans are going to start looking very, very carefully at their lives and what they can do to change their lives as soon as possible. Tribal chiefs will find it very hard to sell their personal agenda, or to sell their personal views that they feel will benefit them going forward in the changes that are going to be proposed to the Constitution. Now, let me go on to what I told you I'll tell you in a minute. We're headed for trouble. All signs on the ground, all indications are that if we have a referendum, if indeed it is true we're going to go into a referendum, it's going to turn out to be a battle between the people and the political class. The people united versus the political class. I foresee a situation whereby both Raila and Uhuru propose something and try to convince the people that this is the direction we should go, and the people will say no. Either that, or the people will take over the agenda completely, and refuse any control from the political class. And so the political class will be forced to go with the people, to go with the wave. Anybody who tries to go against that wave will just be swept aside, embarrassed greatly. Folks, I think there's a lot of drama ahead for us. A lot of drama. Political drama, that is. Indeed, maybe we should start thinking very hard about getting another snack other than the popcorns. The reason I say this is that the drama is going to be so major, so prolonged, that the popcorn cannot last. No popcorn can last. Hey. Folks, this is getting very interesting. I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing. Let me try and sum it up quickly for you. Ruto camp have been campaigning very hard. Ruto presidency 2022. So what happens if there will be no presidency in 2022? Get my drift? If we go into a referendum to vote for a different system, what happens to the Ruto campaign? There are a lot of other very powerful politicians positioning themselves behind prominent figures with the promise that the prominent person they are rallying behind will be president and they'll pass on some goodies in 2022. Oh, pole sana. It seems that the whole plan is going to be frustrated. Folks, even if we retain the presidency, Kenya is not going to be the same again. That handshake has changed a lot of things. And the interesting thing is that the changes which will come as a result of the handshake are going to be greater than the handshake itself. What am I talking about? This is what I'm saying. People are going to take over the agenda. Because those who went into the handshake have some certain ideas and certain directions they want the country to go. But then what's going to happen? The people are just going to take over the agenda. And take it in the direction they want. And it's very likely the direction they'll want to take it is not the direction the two people who shook hands had in mind. This is what I was saying at the beginning, that this idea of starting to talk about 2022 politics is just ridiculous, because we have not even gone through 2018, and now what I said is coming to pass, because it seems the handshake has some ideas that will have a major impact on 2022. And I'm not even talking about individuals. I'm talking about a situation where your carefully laid out plans for 2022, for the presidency, for instance, will not be viable anymore. The long and short of what I'm saying is that our politics have changed completely. For instance, the major dramatic changes at the IEBC, I have a very, very, very strong feeling that Raila Odinga had a very strong hand in that. It is the Raila Odinga wing, or the Raila Odinga side of that handshake, that would not in any circumstances accept the current IEBC. And so the IEBC had to go. And it seems that the two people who shook hands sat down and decided on a quick strategy of getting rid of IEBC. And that is a done deal. Even if people insist they're not going to resign, they'll find themselves not having resigned, but left in a powerless shell where they are nothing, where even their resignation no longer holds any power, no longer has any impact, yeah, because they'll already be out. Yeah, and this is why I said, or rather the title of this recording, is that the latest news in Kenya is changing so rapidly. In fact, it's becoming so confusing that it's impossible to read, that actually you can fail to know what is really happening. Our politics has changed very dramatically, and going forward will continue to rapidly change very dramatically. That's really the long and short of it. Drama bin drama, ole drama, rap drama, and more. Yeah, that's what it is. But my prayer is that amid all the chaos, all the turmoil, yeah, things will generally move towards a better Kenya. Nothing else. Just a better Kenya. For us, and if not for us, for future generations. Until next time, this is Kshs Kumekucha.